Kane, did you see how many people from the age 55 and up got retired?
Oh yeah, significant portion.
And we start, what we're seeing on the executive search side and even an employment boost, the amount of people that exited the workforce that were planning to retire at 62 or 65 who just said, screw it, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
My 401k is so big right now that I'm not dealing with the workforce anymore. Um, I'm not sure anybody's seeing this coming.
Yeah, it's interesting because you almost feel like we should have, considering
Yeah.
how not inflated, but how strong the market was and what the impact of like that on 401ks or whatever retirement accounts.
So we're looking at it, if you're an executive, looking at, what's going on 2022 or even 2023, where's that leave me? I personally believe a tremendous amount of opportunity. Now, I'm someone that owns over a dozen companies and brands. Several of those are in the executive search space, including Employment Boost and some other human capital consulting companies. I'm in this conversation every day, and on top of it being an investor in businesses, we're looking at some of those headwinds every company is facing right now in terms of leadership. It's like, from the company side, you see it as a headwind, but if you're trying to get into the C-suite right now, or if you're already in the C-suite, the amount of opportunity there is pretty tremendous.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We're seeing it at least with Daggerfin when we try to do outreach to different C-level individuals. I mean, the number of individuals that we, or the number of individuals that we reach, and they tell us that reach out to someone else because I've retired. I retired over the last 18 months. It's really staggering. So you're right. There's a big gap at the top level of organizations. What does that mean for job seekers? So
And if you're a job seeker and you have, I don't know, 10 years of experience right now, you're at that manager, senior manager, and you're trying to get to that director level, things are looking pretty good. If you're
yeah,
already a CFO, a COO, the amount of opportunity that you have to change jobs is pretty tremendous. But you could also step back and say, what is my value to my current company right now? I think across the board, as we watch like every asset class kind of get in a bubble, if you're an executive, you're an asset, and you just went up like crazy too.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Because that we're starting to realize that there's only so many. If you think about it, like there's only one LeBron James. Like every team would love to have a LeBron, right?
mm-hmm.
And you start to see the same issues when it comes to leadership within companies. You're seeing it particularly in the electric um, car industry, where there's only a handful of people that are really got a grip on this thing. So there's some of the most valuable players in the market right now, but there's just not enough of them to go around. So what we're seeing on the executive search side is when you're looking for that senior leadership that doesn't have to figure it out, that's been there and done that. Those people, a lot of them have left them. They're not coming back. They're retired. You're not getting them back. They're not going to consult. They're gone. And you're looking at a lot of companies right now, especially in the middle market, saying, okay, how are we going to navigate the next 10 years? Because, you're shifting everybody up now. You're trying to fill that void of those people that just left. And now it's going to leave even more gap in the middle. And they're also going to move up a lot of people that just weren't ready. So I think just looking at what we're seeing, I'm going to go beyond 2022 and 2023. I'm looking at a 5 to 7 year. I don't even know what to call it. It's a perfect storm of craziness going on in the career market. The Great Resignation, we saw that going on. We have a lot of people just not returning to the workforce for a whole bunch of reasons. But when you realize the retirees are not coming back, how do you fill a 5 to 7 year gap of talent?
That's a good question. Yeah, you're right. As you're saying this, I'm thinking we associate so many things with the pandemic of being pulled forward or the acceleration. we pulled forward remote work, we pulled forward things that we would have probably got to in 5-7 years, and people probably don't often think about how that's affected org charts. It's going to be so important for that kind of one level down from the C-suite to be able to step into these roles and navigate these companies. It's going to be really interesting to see.
And the issue is like we kind of saw peak everything with the stimulus money. We looked at what $6 trillion pumped into the system. I'm not even sure that counts the quantitative easing they were due, taking those assets on the books. So if you count that money pumped into the system, plus there was other parts of unemployment and all these other things that kind of pump money into the system. Like we saw, retail sales go through the roof, car sales, like everything kind of went through the roof, and you realize, well, that's not sustainable. So I think we got some more headwinds coming because when are we going to reach that peak of revenue again without pumping trillions of dollars into the system? We can't do that because inflation's so high. Now they're talking about 3 interest rate hikes next year. So you're going to go from companies just, money's coming from everywhere. And now all of a sudden, like revenues are going to drop and they're going to potentially have leadership issues. So I see where it could be a tough 3 to 5 years in the business market. But again, if you're almost ready to get at that executive level, if you're already in that executive level, your value is so high right now. It's you're in a good spot, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I like to think of most things through kind of a culture, employer brand, org chart perspective. Like the employer brand implications of this are pretty strong too, right? Like, do companies have the strength to attract the level of executive and management talent that they need to navigate what you're calling like the next 3 to 5 years? How are companies doing that? And then on the individual side, how are they positioning themselves to capitalize? I think that's another thing that's going through my head as you're saying this.
Basically, it's a good time to be an executive.
Yeah, no doubt.
We got career. We kind of follow on the employment boost side. We follow the similar trend to what public accountants go through, like January to March or April's our busy season where executives tend to make the most job changes in that first quarter to early second quarter.
Yeah.
So Christmas comes and then all of a sudden the executive resume writing orders start coming in, and then the interview coaching, and then all that stuff. And I'm just curious to see what really happens in Q1 here. Are people going to stick around? Are there companies going to try to keep them with equity or phantom equity or more stock options?
Mm-hmm.
Will more executives try to leave and then get counter offers and then stay, which can be tough because a lot of times when you take a counter offer, you always end up having a target on your back because no one forgets that you were about to leave.
Right.
They'll say it. The board will, not a big deal, sure. Like, no, they remember when you were about to leave. And it's just one of those things that you feel like once you commit to leave, you should just go and like linger, and you end up leaving anyways, Kane.
Yeah, your mind's not in it anymore.
Yeah, you stick around because you got a little more money or whatever, and then you're still gone a year later.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that if it's time to go, it's time to go. You move on is typically the best thing to do. Not always, but typically so. I'm just curious to see Q1. We go into that busy season, especially on the executive resume writing and coaching.
Yeah.
Is there going to be this like mass kind of transition where people are just going to be bouncing around, or are they going to hunker down and say, you know what? There's a lot of economic headwind coming. I'm gonna stay here. I'm stable. I don't have to take any significant risks. My company's probably going to give me something extra to not make a change if they understand what's going on in the market.
Yeah.
Whole lot of content out there that gets written about executive careers and all that stuff, but I'm not sure many of these people actually ever sat in a boardroom before. And we run executive search companies too. Like we deal with, we're not even talking like HR managers, like we deal with the executive committee on the board that's responsible for like hiring a CFO or a president, for example. That conversation often looks completely different than what you read on LinkedIn. Like,
yeah,
There's a lot of
You'd hope so.
interesting. Yeah, you'd hope so, but it's like a lot of the content out there is often written by people that have never actually experienced any of it.
Right.
And a lot of those conversations is like what shapes what we do at Employment Boost.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, you're saying this is what people are looking for, but I just was on a conference call with 4 members of the executive hiring committee at this company, and they're trying to hire a new president. Well, I know what they're looking for. It's usually a little bit different than the people that write the stories on social media, or hell, these days, the stuff that I get out of Bloomberg and CNBC doesn't even seem to represent reality sometimes. So,
Yeah.
but that's what I have, anyways, for not even a prediction, just kind of looking into the future here next year, maybe the next 3 to 5 years. I feel like it's a good time to be an executive. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Even, individuals who want to become executives, probably with the right planning over the next couple of years, you can really make some moves.
is it that uncommon to see the 40-year-old CFO?
Oh, not
I mean,
anymore.
yeah, some of these tech companies, like the 30-year-old CFO, where it's, you used to have to, wait. No one wanted to hire a CFO unless they were like 30 years of experience before.
Right.
And you've also noticed that job descriptions don't really say, maybe they used to, they don't anymore. I've never seen in the last probably decade where a job description said needs 25 years of experience in, like, they don't say that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, 10 years of experience is almost as good or sometimes better than 25, because it's really the last 10 years of experience that people care about. Who cares what you were doing in like 1994? Right? Like,
Right.
the world's changed so much. I mean, the money is money and numbers are still numbers, and a few laws have changed, but so much has changed in 25 years that, yeah, obviously decision making, exposure you had to running business, strategy, yes, 25 years of experience can add up in that sense. But as far as the functional part of doing the job, sometimes companies don't care if you got 15 or 30 years experience. So
Mm-hmm.
you can have 15 years of experience and be a very level-headed, rational, great decision maker. Because I've seen people that had 30 years experience just make some horrible mistakes. And you think that, hey, 30 years of experience, you get all the answers. No, you don't. Probably one thing you learn in business, no one ever has all the answers.
Right.
So, but anyways, good time to be an executive.
No doubt.
So, but that's all we got for this one. We'll probably follow up in a couple weeks on, we'll talk about some coaching, and we can talk about, I help a few people, personal friends,
Right.
that are working like Fortune 100, Fortune 500, and they're trying to get into that C-suite. Let's do a couple follow-up episodes. Like, we got strategies where we're trying to say, hey, do I stick at this company for 18 months, take on a new project? Will I get that senior manager title, and then within 24 months, can I become a director? These are the kind of conversations we often have in the career planning side, and trying to figure out, do I stay here and try to build, or do I try to jump? Right?
Yeah.
Let's follow up and have a couple conversations like that.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
All right. Until then, I'm going to catch you on the next one, man.
Okay.